Alright, Outlaw Radio Live fans, we are live on the air with none other than the legendary Mellow Man Ace. How you doing tonight?
Peace, 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 world. Peace, everybody. Yo, everything is good, man. Happy holidays throughout the world. You know what it is. I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed, so I'm happy to be with you guys today.
Most definitely, Mellow. So I have to ask, what made you decide to get into the music industry?
You know what? Pops was raising me to be a baseball player as a teenager, and one day I got into an argument with the third baseman because he made a dazzling diving play to the third base line, got up and threw it into the golf course, which was behind first base, and he airmailed it, and I started whipping him, right?
Yeah.
Well, the coach, after we got into the dugout, the coach, to make a long story short, kicked me off the team. So Pops was furious. And shortly after that, he kicked me out of the house, you know what I mean? And so I was like, luckily for me, hip-hop was in its emergence, you know, it was emerging, and breakdancing and b-boying and stuff was coming in, and so I started b-boying and rhyming at, you know, house parties and started writing rhymes, you know what I mean? And so for me, it was a necessity to do something, to get something popping, because Pops wouldn't let me back in the house until I, you know, became a man, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And speaking of man, in 1989 you released your debut album, an absolute classic, I must say. Escape from Havana was released. What was the story behind that iconic record? How did that album come to be?
To be honest with you, man, thank you. I appreciate that. But to be honest with you, it was an experimental project. It really was. And I think the organic vibes that we did from song to song was, since it was all experimental, and we were, you know, sort of like chief chemists, we were playing with ideas and being a bilingual MC, very versatile in the range of the things that I could do, whether it was, you know, the love ballad or the club jam or the house music that was really popular and banging that I really liked at the time, or just the more undergroundy stuff with Cypress Hill and DJ Muggs, you know what I mean? So we were experimenting with a sound, even though it was a lot of different sounds. And I think that was really like what we were doing. I can't tell you right now that we had a certain formula, we were following some blueprint or anything like that, because of the versatility of, you know, well, just being a bilingual MC, you know what I mean? And so if it felt right, if a track felt right to me, it was going to go on the project.
You guys kind of just wung it, eh?
What's that?
You guys kind of just wung it, pretty much.
Yeah, but, you know, the beautiful thing about it, and the reason why I think ultimately it worked, was that I invested somewhere in the neighborhood of $80,000 into that project. You feel me? Like my record deal was like 90, 100,000, but I took 80 of that and put it right back into the production of the album. So I planted a seed that was bound to harvest. You feel me?
You know, and it did. That record is still iconic today, man. Like 30 plus years later.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you, man.
You also did work with the Dust Brothers. How did you and them get connected?
Well, the Dust Brothers thing came through my man DJ Muggs accidentally, because he was going to cut a record with 783, which was his group at the time from Queens, New York. When he started messing with us, he was already like in business with them. And one day he came on Cypress Hill Ave, and he was looking for somebody to roll with him to the studio. And I was the only one on the block that day. So I said, you know, can we curse on the show?
Oh, yeah, you can curse as much as you like.
Okay. Okay. I said, fuck it, yeah, I'll roll with you. So I went up there with him, and it was at the Delicious Vinyl Studio, the very first one, the iconic one where, Matt Dyke was, in there doing his dust and getting dusted out, but he had a great record collection that he wouldn't let anybody see past the kitchen. And so at one point, Michael Ross, who was the other CEO and co-owner of Delicious Vinyl, walked in, and he tells us that they just started a label called Delicious Vinyl, and that they were looking for MCs and whatnot. And I said, "Yo, man, I buzz. I even buzz in Spanish." So I did a little Spanish rhyme that I had from back in my battle days, and he loved it. And he said, "Yo, we just signed a guy by the name of Young MC and another guy named Tone Loc, and we'd love to, put you on some tracks and see if you sound dope, then we'll give you a record deal." And so I came back the next day. I borrowed mom's car and went out there because we didn't have no money at that time. We didn't have no whips and none of this before everything took off. You know what I mean? And sure enough, it was like a one take Jake type of thing, and he loved it. And my man Tony G, who happened to be there that day, he was gonna put scratches on it. He taught me how to break the song down into bars and all that stuff as we were going. And so we broke up this long rhyme into 3 or 4 verses, and that's what we ended up doing and having that Let's Do This English version, which I call the Mas Bengong.
And also, you were the first Latino artist to ever have a hit bilingual single. How does it feel knowing you were the first person to actually make that happen?
Well, I mean, in terms of that, of course, there's a sense of pride that comes with that, and kind of carrying the weight of your people on your back and all that comes into play. But to me, even still, I just give the credit. I give a lot of the credit to my man, Mr. Schick of the Mean Machine, who actually showed me the vision of Spanish rap early on in the '80s, and then I was able to add on to the game by twisting both languages into it like that and making it sound as one. So, but yeah, it's like the other thing that it was a fucked up paradigm, because on one hand, a lot of people thought that was the only thing I could do, and so they wanted to hear more of those types of records and shit like that, and so it became sort of like the child actor that's pigeonholed into the one role or typecast into that one role. And a lot of times that people didn't want me to step out of that. You know what I mean? But I had so many different styles. If you hear the record, the first album, there were so many different styles that I'm like, that's not the only thing I could do. You know what I mean? And that's kind of why I fell out of love later on with Capitol Records when they were trying to pigeonhole me into just making those types of songs.
Yeah.
While I might add, while hip hop was changing, and cats like Dots Effects and guys like Black Sheep and even my own crew Cypress Hill was coming through and changing things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I don't blame you either, man. You know what I mean? Like you said, you have many, many different styles, very talented artist. So I don't blame you for leaving that label, man. You know what I mean? If you have many other styles, you need to utilize those.
Yeah, of course, and the artistic integrity of me said that to myself. But on the other hand, and what I should have, realized that if I leave this label, things will change. You know what I mean? But monetarily, primarily, you know what I mean? And they did. And so when that money gets funny, you really start thinking like, wow, my integrity really took a lot of food off my table, if you will. So I had to deal with that.
And speaking of money going back on your table, you took part in the soundtrack for Steven Seagal's Marked for Death. What was that experience like, and how did you land that project?
I got a call from Mike Ross at Delicious Vinyl, who was spearheading the project, and he said that they wanted me to go on set on location and actually play with a band that consisted of my man Tony G, a DJ, I think it was DJ M Walk, and some other players. And so we shot a piece in the movie, right? And we were in the background while Steven Seagal is breaking arms in a club in Mexico. And what happened was the part ended up on the cutting room floor. They edited it out of the movie. But what did happen was that the directors and the producers loved the piece, and they were like, "Well, can we get this song though, and we can put it in the background of what is going to happen?" And so we went in and we cut "Welcome to My Groove," I think it was, and La Casa for the actual film. So it was an experiment again as well, and it worked because both songs were able to get light on the soundtrack. It was crazy.
So also in the year 1991, you did a collaboration album with a bunch of other Latino hip-hop artists called Latin Alliance. What was the story behind that iconic record?
Sure. We were coming off a tour, my first tour with Kid Frost and some other groups. And one day he called me. He told me on the bus, actually, that he was doing the project. And when we finished the tour, he called me in and he said, "We're going to cut a record called Lowrider with the original members of War." And this happened to be the first time in the studio that I wanted to drink some beer for whatever reason. I guess I was feeling myself or something. We had just got off the tour. We were still in that party mode of whatnot and whatnot. And so I drank like a 6-pack, almost a 12-pack to the dome. And I started writing this little playful kind of slick Ricky style. And what came out was that flow, that drunken flow, I call it. And lo and behold, Irving Azoff over at Geffen Record, who put that record out, really loved what I did, and he didn't want to change anything. And in fact, he came down to the video shoot and thanked me personally because he thought that style gave the track a lot of personality, and that's how that went down.
Also, I don't know if a lot of our listeners would know this, but you also played the role of a student rapper in the 1993 movie called Only the Strong. How did you land that role, and what was it like doing that movie?
At that time, I was going out on a lot of auditions for movie roles. I had auditioned for CB4 in front of Chris Rock and his people. And unfortunately, I didn't land that role. So then, my agent called me one day and said, "Hey, there's another movie that would like to see you, and see if you can, come out and audition for it." And they let me know a little background on the movie. It was about capoeira and the art form of that came from Brazil, and I liked it. I really liked the script. And so I went ahead and auditioned. They loved it. Then they brought me out on the set, which was in Miami. It was like this crazy high school in Miami, and it had this was the first time I saw metal detectors in a school. Even coming from Los Angeles, this must have been like the craziest school in Miami. And so I went out there, I did my thing, and that's kind of how that came about, you know what I mean? And it was a good time. It was a good time.
Well, it's definitely. I actually watched that role, man. You did really well in that movie, I have to say that.
Well, I mean, I was playing myself, really, because that's really the kind of student that I was anyway.
It worked out for the best.
Yeah, I stuck the landing on that one, you know what I mean?
So also in 2004, you did another film called Heroes of Latin Hip Hop. How did that film come to be, and what was it like doing that?
Man, you're going way back. To be honest, I don't remember exactly how that one came about, but it just, in this thing, opportunities come and some go. This one came to me via, I want to say, a friend of mine by the name of Julio G, a DJ who was one of my DJs early on. And I believe he's the one that got me involved in that project, but I don't remember for sure. And, we just went in and did what we did, and lo and behold, here we are.
So, skipping ahead, like quite a bit ahead here, to 2010, you released your most recent album called Restoring Order. What's the inspiration behind that record, and where can our listeners stream or buy a copy?
Ooh-wee. Restoring Order was because I had came out of a lot of turmoil in 2008 with a breakup divorce to my children's mother, and there was a lot of things wrong with the situation, and at the same time, hip hop was going through what seemed like an identity crisis, and I combined the two together, and I did that record, thinking, okay, let's help hip hop and let's tell all the people that pissed me off to go fuck themselves. You know what I mean? And combined the whole pot and came out with Restoring Order because I felt like everything needed to be restored. And you can get the album on my website, mellowmana7.com. This was before digital platforms took over, so we only pressed up CDs ourselves. I own the masters on that, so you can only get it at my website, and or at live shows. If you come to a live show and I have my merch booth there, you can get it there. But that was a very transitional record for me in terms of growth as a man and trying to understand society better. You feel me?
Yeah.
There's a lot of dope jams on there. I feel like that's one of my best albums. I feel like it's not my best. There is a link on Facebook. If you go on Facebook and type in Restoring Order, it'll pop up right there. And you can hear all the joints, and you can even buy them through the Bandcamp link, which is provided. That's another method you could get it from.
And I have to say, I'm old school myself, so I love hard copies, so that's actually pretty dope. I'm most definitely going to need to pick myself up a hard copy. Nothing's better than actually holding the CD, being able to look at the booklet, Digital ain't the same, man, it doesn't feel the same anymore.
Yeah, it's a very different ball game now, man, so I come from that same school. I want to read the credits. I want to look at the artwork. I want to see the people who were involved. So I definitely dig you on that, you know what I mean?
So also this past 4th of July, yourself and Rodney O did a concert in Expedition Park in Los Angeles. What was that experience like doing that event? And do you have any other up and coming concerts you would like to tell our listeners about?
Oh yeah, I mean, I never stopped doing shows or spot dates and stuff like that. And that particular one, we got a call from a guy by the name of AD, who was the music supervisor, I believe it was. Not the music supervisor, the music director at K-Day, which is a big radio station here with a lot of history. And he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to do that jam, for 4th of July. And of course I said, yeah, you know what I mean? And hanging out with Rodney O is always a plus. That's been my brother for a long time in this music shit. So it was a no-brainer, brother. And we went in there. The park was full that day, based off people wanted to see fireworks and hear music and do all that. We just went out there and we rocked it and had a great time in the park. And so, yeah, that's how that one came about. But it's, shows are always, there's always shows. There's never a shortage of shows. You know what I mean? But that's how that one came about. And then
Oh, sorry about that.
Actually, me and Rodney O will be out for New Year's Eve out in Napa Valley, California. That's like a big place where people come and taste wine and do the wine tasting tours and up there by Silicon Valley and all that. So it's going to be awesome in a couple of days. We'll be bringing in the new year, me and my man Rodney O and my man DJ Sir Jinx.
Oh, that's one hell of a concert. Sir Jinx, legend. Mellow, obviously, legend. Rodney O, legend. I'm kind of jealous right now that I'm on the other side. I'm on the East Coast, man. I would love to hit up that concert, man. You guys are going to tear that winery up. I can tell you that for a fact.
Good looking out. Good looking out. It should be fun.
So I have to ask, Mellow, what's next for you, man? Any new projects? Anything else you want to let our listeners know about while we have you here?
You know what? I've been kind of in limbo thinking about what I want to do because I started a project with my man Kid Frost called The Godfathers of Latin Hip Hop and stuff like that. So we've been working on that project a few months now. But what really has me excited is there's this new movement and a sound that's coming out of LA called Soldies. And it's basically a combination of oldies with modern technology and shit like that. And I'm thinking about doing a Soldies project, but mixing it with hip hop in a very clever way. And I'm really excited about what could happen with that project. And we'll start it early in January, mid-January, we'll start the project, and it'll feature my man Jacob Garcia, who is the son of legendary Midnight singer, the Midnighter singer. I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank, man. His father is Little Willie G of the Midnighters. It's his son. Myself, my son will take part of the project. He'll be on drums and percussion, and I'm thinking about bringing DJ Tony A of High C in to do the cuts, and we'll be bringing in a lot of session players. So I'm excited about that because the sound is so different, it's so new, and there's a big uprising. And at the same time, it's like I love to sing. A lot of people don't know that, but I used to mimic guys like the Isley Brothers and people like Smokey Robinson and the lead singer of Heatwave, who had this sort of falsetto voice. You know what I mean? And I can do that. And so I'll be doing a little bit of that kind of stuff. Of course, I'll be rhyming on the project and stuff like that, but we'll see. We're going to create a gumbo of what we could do and then see if it sticks. So I'm hoping that it sticks.
And that sounds like a legendary project, man. Even Tony A. the Wizard up on that, man. Amazing guy. Very, very nice guy.
Word.
And before I get you off the air, before we end this interview, I got to say this to the audience. Make sure y'all check out Tony A. the Wizard's Rhodium Radio. Mellow Man Ace was on there as well. He has a great platform. Y'all need to check that out as well.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's doing really good with that right now, and he's interviewing everybody. So, yeah, check that out, people.
So I have to ask this, Mel. This is the time in the interview, right before I end it, where I give a chance for the individual that comes on the show, a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, and also their social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you if they're not already doing that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go with the social media stuff first. Check me out. Find me at Instagram at mellow_man_ace. The same on Twitter, mellow_man_ace. And then on Facebook, it's just Mellow Man Ace. I don't do Monkey. I don't really do, although I do have a platform there, LinkedIn, and that's just Mellow Man Ace. And in terms of shout outs, man, I just want to shout out the people that helped me, achieve the things that I've been able to. Guys like Tony G, Matt Dyke, rest in peace, Michael Ross up at Delicious Vinyl, and Kenny Ortiz at Capitol Records, who really believed in what I was doing and came out and discovered me basically for Capitol Records. And guys like, unsung guys like Johnny Rivers, who produced Tacapella, and guys like DJ Muggs, who produced the Babalu Bad Boy on the second album, and he did the River Cubanos on the first album. My brother Sendog, and my guys Be Real, my homeboy, you know what I'm saying, Tomahawk Funk of Funk Dubious. He was really instrumental in those early days of helping a brother understand what he was going through. So those are my shout outs, man, and to my modern day team, my guys that I run with. Shout out to my man Sir Jinx, my brother Rodney, my man Tony A. We really have like a little something going on here where it's a unified front of artists that we hang out together and do a lot of things, you know what I mean? So, and to you, man, thank you for the platform and the opportunity to shine out here today, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, man, I gotta say, you are most certainly welcome on that, but I gotta thank you, man. I've been a fan of your work ever since ever since way before I got into radio, since I was a young boy, so I deep down want to thank you for providing me with your time, man. It's greatly appreciated, and thank you so much.
Hey, all love, man. You know what it is with this hip-hop stuff, man. It's all love. I appreciate you, man, once again.
You have yourself a wonderful day, man, and Happy New Year, man. Thank you so much again.
Hey, that's what's up. All right, man. Happy New Year. Peace, world.
Peace.